They say rejection is protection. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes the person who rejects you comes back when you finally become everything they said you couldn't be. I didn't just lose the man I loved. I lost the version of myself that believed I wasn't enough. And years later, he came back. But by then, I was no longer the woman he left behind. My name is Emma, and this isn't just a story about heartbreak. This is a story about rejection, growth, pain, and what happens when the person who broke you tries to come back into the life you rebuilt without them. I was 23 when I met him. His name was Daniel, and at first, he didn't feel like a lesson. He felt like a future. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. Loud music, dim lights, people everywhere. But somehow, in all that noise, he noticed me, and I noticed him. He walked up to me with this confidence, like he already knew I was going to say yes to whatever he asked. "Can I sit with you?" he said, and I smiled, because something about him felt easy, comfortable, like I had known him longer than just a few seconds. That night turned into hours of conversation, and hours turned into something I didn't expect. Connection. He called me the next day, and the day after that, and soon, he became part of my daily routine. Morning texts, late night calls, random check-ins. He made me feel seen, like I mattered, like I wasn't just another option in his life. And when he looked at me, it felt real. So I let my guard down, completely. One night, we were sitting in his car, parked outside my apartment, and he said something that changed everything. "You're different," he said. "I see a future with you." And just like that, my heart believed him. Not because I was naive, but because he sounded sincere. And sometimes, that's all it takes. But love doesn't always end suddenly. Sometimes, it changes slowly, quietly. At first, it was small things. He became busier, less available, less present. The calls became shorter, the messages became colder, and the effort started disappearing. I started noticing things I had ignored before. Delayed replies, excuses that didn't quite make sense. Moments where he felt far away, even when he was right in front of me. And I asked him once, "Is everything okay between us?" He smiled, that same familiar smile, and said, "You're overthinking." So I told myself to relax, to trust him, to not ruin something good with doubt. That sometimes your heart understands things your mind isn't ready to accept. And deep down, I knew something had changed. I just didn't know what, or why, or how far it had already gone. Until one day, everything became clear. He didn't call me that morning, which wasn't normal. So I texted him. No reply. Hours passed. Still nothing. Then later that evening, I saw something that completely changed my life. A post. Simple. "Wait, I will tell you what to do." A post. Simple, but devastating. It was a picture of him, standing next to another woman, both dressed in white, smiling, happy, married. At first, my mind refused to accept it. It didn't make sense. It couldn't make sense, because just days ago, he was still telling me he loved me, still calling me, still acting like I was the only woman in his life. So I kept staring at the picture, waiting for it to change. waiting for it to become something else, something less real. But it didn't. The comments kept coming. Congratulations, beautiful couple. God bless your union. And with every new comment, the truth became heavier, clearer, unavoidable. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't bad timing. This was betrayal. I didn't cry immediately. I didn't scream. I didn't react. I just sat there, staring at my phone, like my body didn't know how to process what my eyes were seeing. Because how do you react when the person you trusted the most proves that everything you believed was a lie? Every moment we shared started replaying in my head. But now, they felt different. His words didn't feel sincere anymore. His actions didn't feel real anymore. Everything felt calculated, planned, like I had been part of something he never intended to finish. I kept asking myself the same question, over and over again. When did this start? Was I ever the only one? Or was I just convenient? Because nothing hurts more than realizing you weren't chosen. You were just there. I didn't call him, even though my hands were shaking, even though my chest felt tight, even though every part of me wanted answers, because deep down, I already had them. And sometimes, the truth doesn't need explanation. I thought about texting him, typing something, anything. But what do you say to someone who just proved you never really mattered? What do you ask when the answer is already in front of you? So I stayed silent. And that's when it hit me. The real pain wasn't that he got married. It wasn't even that he chose someone else. It was how easy it was for him to pretend with me while building something real with someone else. That's what broke me. And in that moment, I understood something I wish I never had to learn. Some people don't leave you because you weren't enough. They leave you because they were never honest about who they were. The tears didn't come. Not yet. Just silence. Heavy, uncomfortable, endless silence. Like my emotions had shut down to protect me from something too painful to feel all at once. That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything, replaying everything, trying to understand how I didn't see it, how I didn't know, how I trusted him that much. And slowly, a truth I didn't want to accept started becoming clear. I wasn't part of his future. I was part of his secret. And just when I thought that was the worst thing he could ever do to me, life had something else waiting. Something I wasn't prepared for. Because losing him was only the beginning of what I was about to go through. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence in the room and the noise inside my head. Because sometimes the loudest pain is the one no one else can hear. Every word he ever said kept replaying in my mind. I see a future with you. You're different. I care about you. And now, those same words felt empty, like they belonged to someone else, someone I never really knew. And the more I thought about it, the clearer everything became. This didn't just happen overnight. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't something he fell into. This was something he was already living, while I was still believing. At some point, I stopped feeling angry. I stopped feeling sad. I stopped feeling anything at all. And that scared me more than the betrayal itself. Because when you stop feeling, it means something inside you has shut down. The next morning, everything looked the same. The sun still came out. People were still living their lives. Nothing had changed, except me, because inside, something had already broken. Quietly, completely. I didn't tell anyone. Not my friends. Not my family. No one. Because I didn't want to explain something. I didn't even understand myself. So I kept it in and carried it alone. I kept going back to the same questions. What did I miss? What signs did I ignore? What did I do wrong? Because when something like this happens, you don't just question them. You question yourself. I started thinking things I never thought before. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe she was better. Maybe that's why he chose her. And the worst part is, those thoughts felt real, even when they weren't. But then something happened. That slowly changed everything. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just a small realization that grew louder over time. I started asking a different question. Not why wasn't I enough, but why did I accept something that wasn't real? Because the truth is, it wasn't just about what he did. It was about what I allowed. And for the first time, I stopped focusing on him and started looking at myself, not with blame, but with honesty. Because healing doesn't start with denial. It starts with truth. So I made a decision, a quiet one. No announcement, no explanation, just a promise to myself. I was going to rebuild my life without him. I didn't know how. I didn't know where to start. But I knew one thing. I couldn't stay in the same place emotionally, not after everything that happened. So I started small, focusing on myself, my time, my growth. I began learning things I ignored before, paying attention to myself in ways I never did, understanding my worth without needing someone else to confirm it. And slowly, very slowly, I started feeling something again. Not happiness, not yet, but strength. The kind that doesn't come from everything being okay. The kind that doesn't come from everything being okay, but from deciding that you will be okay, no matter what. And just when I thought I was finally starting to move on, life did something unexpected. Because the moment I started rebuilding was the same moment he started watching. I didn't wake up one day and suddenly become strong. It didn't happen like that. There was no big moment, no dramatic turning point, just small changes, repeated every single day. I started showing up for myself, even on days I didn't feel like it, even on days when the memories came back and tried to pull me backwards, because I realized something important. Healing isn't about how you feel. It's about what you choose. Despite how you feel, I stopped asking myself, why did he do this to me? And started asking, what can I do for myself now? Because the more I focused on him, the more I stayed stuck. But the moment I focused on me, everything started changing. I invested in myself, my skills, my time, my energy, things I had ignored before, because I was too busy giving that attention to someone else. And slowly, I started building something that belonged to me, not to us, not to him, to me. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't easy, but it was real. And for the first time in a long time, I felt in control of my own life again. Not emotionally, but directionally. And that was enough. People started noticing, not just how I looked, but how I carried myself, the way I spoke, the way I moved, the way I no longer needed validation from anyone, especially not him. I wasn't the same woman anymore, not the one who waited for his calls, not the one who questioned her worth, not the one who ignored her intuition. That version of me was gone, and I didn't miss her. And then one day, out of nowhere, his name appeared on my phone again. A message. Simple, short, like nothing ever happened. "Hey, how have you been?" I stared at the screen for a long time, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I realized something in that moment. The same message that would have once made my heart race now felt irrelevant, because for the first time, I wasn't waiting for him anymore. I wasn't hoping. I wasn't wondering. I wasn't needing anything from him. And that changed everything. I didn't reply immediately, not out of revenge, not out of anger, but because I genuinely didn't feel the urgency to. And that was new for me. That was growth. I thought about everything. The past, the pain, the lies, the version of me that once believed in him. And I realized I had already moved forward, even if I didn't notice it at first. And just when I thought that message was the end of it, he sent another one, something I wasn't expecting, something that made me realize he wasn't just checking in, he was trying to come back. The second message came minutes later, longer, more intentional. "I've been thinking about you. I know I messed up. I just want to talk." And just like that, the past tried to reopen itself. I read it once, twice, and again, not because I didn't understand what he was saying, but because I was trying to understand how someone who once lost me so easily was now trying so hard to come back. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. He didn't come back because I needed him. He came back because he finally saw me. But by then, I had already learned how to see myself. Years ago, this message would have meant everything to me. It would have pulled me back in, made me forget the pain, made me ignore the truth. But now, it didn't move me, not even a little. I picked up my phone, stared at his message, and for a second, I thought about replying, not because I wanted him back, but because I wanted closure. But then it hit me. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you, from accepting what happened, without needing an explanation, without needing an apology, without needing them to understand the damage they caused. So I finally replied, not emotionally, not angrily, just honestly. "I'm not the same person you left. I wish you well, but there's nothing here for you anymore." He replied instantly, like he had been waiting, like he didn't expect that answer. He started typing more, explaining, apologizing, trying to rebuild something that no longer existed. But I didn't read all of it. I didn't need to, because for the first time, I wasn't looking for his words anymore. I wasn't searching for meaning in what he said. I was already free. So I did something simple. I put my phone down, and I let that chapter close, without reopening it again. No arguments, no explanations, no second chances, just silence. And as I sat there, I realized something I wish I had known earlier. Losing him was never the tragedy. Losing myself would have been, because sometimes the person who walks away from you is the same person who teaches you how to stand on your own. And sometimes the greatest glow up isn't what people see on the outside. It's the strength you build when no one is watching. He came back when I became everything he said I couldn't be. But by then, I no longer needed him.